My name is Danielle Reinhart, Dani Reinhart on social media. And I have grown up with horses my entire life. My poor parents, or my dad mostly, he had 3 girls. So what do? You buy yourself, your daughter's a pony. And from there, it kind of just exploded.
Yeah.
So I started out with an old white pony named Poncho. And I was a part of the local 4-H club, local gymkhana clubs. I did, local horse shows. And then I moved into AQHA for a period of time where I showed both English and Western. And then from there, I also tried out reining and was able to compete in NRHA and have some success with that. So you can kind of get the full gamut of, how I've grown up with horses through all of that. I was also blessed with the opportunity to be a 2013 Calgary Stampede rodeo princess. And so for lack of a better term, I was a rodeo queen for a year. I got to travel around and represent our rodeo as well as our city and, the country of Canada, all over the place. And that also kind of increased my love for the Western community, Western fashion. Okay. So I will back up and say I am originally born and raised from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. My husband and I have lived in Texas for almost 6 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so he got the opportunity to transfer for work. We're like, hey, no snow. This sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Go. We had no idea what we were jumping into. You guys, heat that you experience in Texas is nothing even comparable to back home. So we are still learning to this day. Wow. With dealing with the heat and all of that. But ever since we landed here, we've loved it. I like to call Alberta kind of the sibling of Texas. Alberta is kind of the more conservative country province in Canada, kind of like Texas is down here. So
Gotcha.
It was a pretty easy transition for us, but we're not going anywhere anytime soon. We do love it here. We go back for the holidays to get our snow fix.
Yep.
But that's about it.
Did you guys get the snow this year?
The snow in Texas?
Yes.
Yes.
You did.
My goodness. And that was fun. Dealing with that. We had to pull out all of our snowsuits from our closets. I mean, what we had. We didn't bring everything with us. We've kept something, a few pieces, our regular snowsuits, back home with our families when we go visit at the holidays. But we did. I think I was able to find some snow pants. We had some, beanies, tubes, gloves, right? Big things that came on. Anyway, but it was hilarious that it was happening. And it was actually colder in Texas for I think it was over a week compared to where my family was back home.
That's so crazy.
So, we're sending them videos of snow. We're we don't know how this is happening. But, yes.
At least you knew what to do. Some people were clueless. Yeah.
Yes, we were very thankful for that. We kind of went back to our intuition of how we grew up dealing with the snow, but we didn't have power or water for a significant period of time. So I would just like to say, regardless of what elements you're dealing with, when you don't have power or water, it just makes things,
way worse.
Significantly more interesting on a regular basis.
Right.
Did you notice any cultural differences in the equestrian community from Canada to Texas?
You know what? I think the Western industry is so welcoming, regardless of where you are. I think there is something to say for Southern hospitality. There's the step above that all the Texans, they've got their Southern accents. They want to introduce you to mom and pop and come over to grandma's for sweet tea and things like that, is a little bit different than back home. But I would have to say, not too many cultural differences. I mean, their slang is a little bit different. You guys might hear my accent come out. So that's about the biggest thing, but I love Southern accents. So I'm all here for it. But overall, I would say, just the Southern charm being down here in the Western industry, but it's pretty pretty same across the board, I would say.
I was going to ask, did your sisters stay with horses too, or were you the only one?
So they did and are for a period of time. So my middle sister, she stayed with horses until she was early teenager. And then she was a great athlete. So she had other things she went and pursued. And then my youngest sister still is in 4-H, and she rides. She also does reining. And so it's kind of always been a big part of our family. Both my mom and dad ride as well. So it's a family affair. It was a requirement for my husband as well. One of those
Oh, that's cool.
So I guess going into fashion, and you're now so correct me if I'm wrong, but you're now like the new model for Cowgirl, or like one of the main models, correct?
Yeah, so Cowgirl Magazine, they had their first ever model search this year. And so they ended up actually selecting 3 girls. So they have the face of Cowgirl Magazine, her name is Peyton. And then they selected 2 what they call special project models, which is myself and then another wonderful lady named Ramona. And so a part of our role will be creating content for Cowgirl Magazine. You'll probably see us a little bit more on social media, attending some events on their behalf as well. And so I grew up reading Cowgirl Magazine like all the time. Like it was going out of style. It was one of those like coffee table magazines that was always at our house. My mom loved them. That and the Cowboys and Indians magazine were always like around. I loved looking at them, at all the fashion, classic, timeless content always. And so when they had their model search, I was like, look, life's too short. I'm going to apply. Who knows what will happen? Like, let's just do it. So I filled out the application, and, you know, I was blessed with the opportunity to be selected. And so, it's, you know, I'm learning. I did some content for them just recently that I think will be in their fall winter issue. So I'm really excited to be able to share that with everyone. And then there's a few different events. I think there's an event in Dallas that's coming up end of August. And then for sure, the National Finals Rodeo in December will be another event that you'll probably see me at representing Cowgirl Magazine. But it's such a fun experience. I am beyond excited to just like have another avenue to connect with the Western industry and share a little bit about my fashion and, you know, my take on styling things. I always think, you know, the Western industry is so diverse and so broad in where it stands. I mean, I think this year alone, I've seen more quote unquote, like mainstream actors, actresses, models wearing, you know, retro denim, cowboy boots, like really kind of playing on that Western style, all the way to, you know, incorporating business casual fashion into the Western world, and what does that look like when you dress it up. And so for me, it's just so exciting to see everyone's different take on what Western fashion looks like and how big that community is. And so that's kind of holds a special place in my heart, that, you know, no matter who you are or where you come from, right, you can all be a part of this community in your own unique way.
So I guess going along with that, like, what drew you into fashion? I mean, I know for me, like, so I actually went to school for fashion merchandising, and I graduated last August from school, which was super great, a lot of fun. But for me, like, I loved all the colors, and I loved, like, all the designer dresses, and I think just extravagance of that scene. But what was it for you? Because Western fashion is so different from even just mainstream.
Yeah. No, and I would love to just talk to you about your experience and all the things you learned as well. I'm all for learning about, you know, that aspect of your life and everything you were able to pick up while you were in school. But for me, really, it's all about self-expression and how you can take the vision of what one person put together and how to put your own twist on it. So for me, you know, Western fashion has evolved right throughout me growing up. And with that, I think, being confident in who you are is where fashion has always been a driver for me, is, helping me push myself out of the box, but, keep to the true classic timeless look that, I like to emulate, over many years. And so, with that, I truly think it's what has drawn me to it is building confidence, my own confidence throughout the years, and the ability to express yourself.
Yeah.
I do get and this is probably a poor term, a kick out of seeing all the new fashion trends how they're actually incorporated into mainstream fashion. So I was looking before we jumped on today of all the trends that are supposed to be, hot and popular for winter and fall. And some of the things, like we have lime green full jumpsuits with like cutouts and sheer mesh. And I'm like, okay, interesting. So for me, I take that list and I'll look at it and be like, okay, I can do a lime green wild rag, maybe, and incorporate that into more of like a classic look. And so for me, that's kind of the fun part of, learning what high editorial fashion, what their trends are, and then kind of how to bring it in to the Western piece. And, everyone does it a different way.
Right.
But,
so for those that are looking to like get into trend research and all that, what sources do you like to use?
For fashion in general?
Yep.
I love Pinterest. I think Pinterest is your best friend, whether it's for fashion ideas or like modeling poses, anything of that nature. If you're just trying to get into the influencer or Western fashion industry, to me, Pinterest is huge. I also do follow a lot of influencers on social media. And so I'll use their Instagram handles because it would probably be easier to find them. But West Desperado, Western Sage, they have fantastic pages of content. They put a lot of effort into their outfits, providing tips and tricks and different ways to style your outfits. And they are also a great resource to let you know, hey, check out this fashion magazine, or this person has a course, and providing different resources for where you can go pull your inspiration from. So for me, social media and Pinterest are my two big avenues for that.
Yeah, cool.
So when you're at the barn and you've had like a really long day or even a really long morning, because you have to split your day up sometimes, you're going to go out to lunch with your friends. Are there pieces that you have with you if you don't get a chance to go change or something? Are there pieces that you keep with you that you're like, I'm going to wear this, to the barn, but I can also kind of incorporate it into what I'm going to go do, shopping with the girls or something like that?
Absolutely. So I have a few pieces. So I would like to say that the term denim Dani was created for me. I love denim. I have a very unhealthy obsession and own more than you guys could ever imagine. But between denim jumpsuits, vests, your regular retro jeans, I have them all. So a definite staple is denim in some capacity for me. Generally, a good pair of dark wash jeans is my go-to, regardless if I'm working in the barn or going to go out with the girls. And then I love blazers. I think they're so classic, so timeless. You can be wearing a t-shirt. It's like kind of casual, kind of not. You throw a blazer on and you're ready to go for dinner, shopping, whatever it might be. So those are kind of my two main pieces. I generally always have a blazer or some kind of jacket in my back seat to just throw on to elevate a look depending on where I'm going. And then I love a white blouse. It's classic. You can dress it up, you can dress it down. And so those are kind of my three things that I always go with. When I'm at the barn, I generally keep two of everything because you never know with horses, right? Someone wants to rub on you or snort or do something. You always have backups.
Yeah, that's kind of funny because when Ida first came in and joined us here, she started doing stories and was out with our animals. And which one of them got you with your white shirt on?
Oh, they've all gotten me a handful of times, but I think I was with Grayson and we had to record a podcast and I came in and they're like, "What happened to you?" I was covered in mud. And I'm like, "Well, it's real life." So but yeah, that was definitely a fun time. And I've just kind of learned like black is a good color.
Is a good
Yeah.
color.
It is a fantastic color, or you just go with it and you're like, my jeans were actually designed this way.
Yeah.
With the flashes of mud or whatever.
Right.
And you just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess going along with kind of all this, what are your favorite brands to shop for? And like, what's something that you would splurge on? And what are things that you would be like, you can kind of get these anywhere?
Yeah. So my splurge pieces will kind of go along with my favorites.
Okay.
So for me, I love Banana Republic for their blazers. I think they have really good quality.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the same blazers from them for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I also use them, for my regular job, corporate job, right? They're very versatile. So that's one of my go-tos for that piece. I would say splurge on boots and jeans, mainly because I found the higher quality jean that you go with generally lasts longer and always makes your figure look fabulous.
Yeah.
So that's been my rule of thumb. I do love the brand 7 jeans, for more of kind of like styling, high fashion, corporate looks. And then I do love a good pair of Wrangler jeans for riding and doing my chores around the house. But I would say for the amount that I wear blazers and jeans, those are my two kind of go-tos for I would rather spend more on that and get higher quality. And then boots. I own so many pairs, you guys, it's ridiculous. But to have many options is definitely preferred for me. So I do like to splurge on those, get a good comfy pair, multiple colors, so you can dress up an outfit that way.
Do you have boots? Are they now? See, we're not too westerny here, so we've done more of like the hunter jumper and even like fox hunting things, But are they like? Is there a trend for the boot styles right now, like the pointed toe or the square toe, or is there anything? I know like this new square toe sandal is like a new thing this year, so I'm not really that fond of that one, but I don't mind a square toed boot.
Yes. So my personal preference is I save my square-toed boots for riding.
Okay.
Those are my like regular working boots. And then all of my pointy toe or fashion boots, right? Those are my going out or photo shoot boots. I have a preference. I tend to gravitate towards like the tall cowboy boots. Okay. I know right now there's lots of cute booties, right? The shorter versions of them, the cute pointy toe. I do have a few pairs of those, but I've always been a classic cowgirl in that sense. I really like the old school look with the tall cowboy boot sides, the different designs you can get on them. But yeah, that's how I differentiate square toe for my work boots and then the pointy toe fashion ones for everything else.
So for your jeans then, are they like skinny jeans tucked in? Are they the bootleg jeans? And if you're putting together an outfit with your blazer, is that skinny jeans? Is that boot cut jeans? What would you do?
So for me, I do both. I naturally love a boot cut flare just for my body type, and I will pair that with a blazer or not. I'll pair it with regular cowboy boots, booty cowboy boots, heels. I like to pair it with all things. When I do the skinny jeans look, I like to put them with the really tall boots and kind of show off if the boots have a fun design, or some cowboy boots now, they even go up over the knee.
Oh, wow.
That's a fun style that they have, kind of more high fashion. And so I'll pair that again with a blazer or, just a fun jacket, fun blouse as well. So I kind of go all over the place. I would have to say though, just for my regular style, I do like the boot cut jean, and I'll pair it with just about any boots that I'm feeling that day.
So we did a podcast with Burns Hats, and we had no idea that there were so many hats types and what you wore hats for and who wears what types of hats. Is there a certain type of hat that you like?
Well, I have a few. So I think, the rule of thumb is you have your felt cowboy hats, right, for your winter fall season. Then you have your straw cowboy hats for spring, summer. And so I have a few of each.
Okay.
And I really like the classic cowboy style that I've had for many years. I think it's called cattleman style are majority of the ones that I have now. You can get them with so many different shapes, the square front, you can get them much flatter, or the taco brim where the sides are really like stick straight up.
Yeah.
Just depends your preference. And I know even different horse disciplines, right? Lots of reiners, depending on where you are from, will style their cowboy hats in different ways, but those are kind of my go-tos. And then I have what I call, my fashion hats or my influencer hats. And those are the ones with kind of the flat brim top. They've got the really big round circle, and I'll put them on the back of my head or tilt them. And so I have a few of those. There are so many styles. I'm definitely not an expert. I am one of those people that I'll go and be like, she looked really good in that. Let's see if I can pull it off.
Yeah.
If it works, I add it, to the cart. But there are so many, and I really think it does elevate your look. I know some girls, like, you'll look at their Instagram and, they have so many different ways they style their hats or add them to their outfit. I think it's a great accessory to have. In saying all this, I should probably add it more to even, some of the fashion content I have. But yeah, it's a great staple piece. And it sounds like you've met with the experts. You probably know more than I do at this point.
That's funny. So is there such thing as dressing like too Western? Like, is there a point where you feel like you should maybe take it a step back? Or do you feel like there's no such thing? Hat, belt, boots, all together, go as far as you can.
I would like to think there's really no rules. It is truly whatever makes you feel confident. If you feel confident wearing the sparkle hat with the sparkle shirt and the rhinestone pants and the rhinestone belt, and that is what makes you smile and feel beautiful about yourself, go for it. Absolutely. I don't think that's for everyone. It's not for me. I love a good sparkle, but not that much. So for me, and especially in Texas, everyone says everything is bigger in Texas. I 100% believe that is also true in fashion. When I think I've put on too much jewelry, there will always be someone that has like 10 times more than me on. So it's truly, my rule of thumb is whatever makes you feel confident and beautiful. There are no limits in Western fashion. And I think that's what makes it so unique, is that everyone, has their own take on it, and they'll go from one extreme to the next.
Yeah. Is this like an everyday thing then, to wear this type of an outfit, or do you just dress, like mainstream too? Or is it like in Texas in general, like here, you really wouldn't see too many. There's a lot of just mainstream here. I
feel like it's a bit comical when someone walks in with spurs.
Right.
Yeah. But I feel like in Texas, that might just be the norm. Am I wrong?
Well, it depends where you are.
Okay.
Where we live, we're just north of Austin, and I would say that is a very city.
Okay.
There's a lot of, what we call, mainstream fashion looks, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when I go to Target, it is a toss-up if I'm wearing spurs and jeans that day, or if I'm just gonna wear my flip-flops and a cute pair of shorts and a regular t-shirt. So for me, I do a mix of both. Before COVID, I worked right downtown Austin. And so I would dress up, wear heels, blazers, the whole 9 yards every day. And then I would have my boots and spurs in the back seat so that, you know, I could drive home, get my horse saddled, and off we went. So I didn't necessarily wear the boots and spurs, you know, around the office all that often. But I definitely had them with me. I would say that, you know, it's a 50-50 shot. I think there are a lot more, you know, Western folks, cowboy boots. I think you see a lot more just in Texas in general as more of a fashion piece, whether they're true, right, Western people, cowgirl people, cowboy people, or, you know, just regular mainstream folks that want to add a Western touch. So I would say you see the boots more often, probably in Texas than maybe other places. But for myself, it's a mix. Every day you can come flip a coin and I'll have all sorts of looks ready for you guys, just depending on the day.
Well, here, if you see anybody dressed up in any like, you know, English clothing, or, you know, like you've got your leggings on for riding or whatever, you know, I'm ready to like run over and be like, "You're a horse person." You know, we don't see very many here.
Yeah.
Somebody walking through Sam's Club and I'm like, "Oh, you just came from the barn." So it kind of gets exciting when you see somebody else that you know is a rider, or, you know, it just gives you that, I don't know, there's just a community even though you don't even know the people. So
Absolutely. And you know, I find myself sometimes with that with belt buckles. It's kind of weird, but like if you see, you're like, that is unique. You must be like legit, right? Or like you knew someone that gave that to you or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I know for me, there's always a story behind, you know, a belt buckle, whether it was given to you, you know, from your grandparents or you won it. I like to call out that the belt buckle my husband wears the most, I actually won. It is, but it fit him better. So I like to remind him that, hey, what you wear every day actually came from me. I used his horse. So he says that he has a 50% custody of the buckle because his horse helped me win it anyway. But yeah, that's kind of my similar thing. I think, you know, when you see someone dressed in that way or has the buckle or the boots, right? I agree. It's that sense of community where you're like, hey, where were you this weekend? Or, you know, did you park your trailer out in the parking lot like we did? That kind of thing. So
yeah. So your husband, did he, when you met him, was he like all put together and knows how to dress this Western style, or did you have to give him some tips? And what does he wear? What's good for the men?
Oh, we're still helping him on what he wears and puts together. No, he had, you know, I'd say like decent fashion sense. I would like to say I helped finesse his style over the many years we've been together. But he didn't grow up. He grew up on a dairy farm with his grandparents, and so he was kind of around the egg industry. And then as he got older, he started roping with a few of his friends. And then once he met me, I was like, okay, so what all your friends have taught you, let's finesse not only your wardrobe, but your riding a little bit. So that was very interesting during dating, right? If any of you guys have been in a relationship or with any significant other, trying to teach them a new activity, especially with a horse or animal, right, is always very interesting. So we have lots of lessons learned and funny stories to tell about while we were dating, how I learned to just breathe, keep my mouth quiet, and, you know, let him, you know, learn some pieces on his own. But regarding fashion, you know, I definitely gave him some tips of, hey, this and this looks good together. Let's, you know, emulate George Strait a little bit more and tuck your shirt in and do these different things. So, and luckily he was all for it. So I was, he's got a pretty good style now, and he helps me too, which is very funny. He's turned into quite the opinionated Instagram husband, maybe we would call him that. So kind of a funny story of how I got started into Western influencing. I started modeling when I was in my teenage years, and then I took a break. I finished college, you know, got married, and then moved to another country. So a few big life events. And then once here in Texas, I had been talking to him and my family about, I miss having a creative outlet to do modeling or, get back into fashion, that kind of thing. I really love the Western community. And I'd been following a lot of girls on social media. And I was like, hey, I think I can do this. Like, I'd like to show, my fashion sense and get my foot in the door doing some more modeling. And so I'd been talking about it for quite some time. My husband comes home one night with this bag from Cavender's, which is like a local Western store. And so at first I was like, well, that's rude. You didn't take me shopping with you. But then he proceeds to tell me he'd bought me an outfit. So he bought me a brown, like fashionista.
Did that make you nervous, or did that were you like, oh, an outfit?
I mean, I was very curious. I was like, oh, goodness, what did he put together for me?
Yeah.
Like, I'll have to pretend that I like it. All of that. But he actually did a really good job. He gave me this nice brown hat and this mustard floral duster and this other shirt underneath. And I was like, wow. I was like, someone has been also on Instagram or Pinterest looking at ideas. I was like, maybe my fashion sense is that bad. He's trying to give me a hint. But anyway, we went and he told me, he's like, hey, I want to, help you get started. I'm going to watch a YouTube video on how to be, an Instagram husband and take photos properly on my iPhone. And we're going to go to this small town called Green, Texas, which had a lot of beautiful historical buildings. And we'll take some photos for you so you can kick off your Western influencer thing on Instagram. So I was like, wow, major brownie points. Thank you. And we went out there and like, you guys, it was like 2,000 photos later. I mean, it was a struggle for the both of us to like go through 3 outfits, for him to learn that a double chin is not ideal.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it all started, was with his help. I do ask his opinion on some things still for my outfits, different perspective, but yeah.
Does he still take your photos?
Not too often. I've built some great relationships with some great photographers. However, I do get asked to have him, join some of our sessions for like couples looks and different things. Yeah. And so, I have to make sure he's had a good night's sleep. I bribe him with Chick-fil-A and he has air conditioning, right? All of the things so that he'll come and do some photo shoots with me. But yeah, I definitely love it more than he does, but he's a pretty good sport. He'll come join me.
So sweet.
So what are your best tips for taking pictures?
Best tips for taking pictures. Number 1 is wear what you are comfortable with. If you are confident in your clothes, it will show in the photos. If you are uncomfortable, you don't feel confident, it will show up immediately and you won't love the photos. Yeah. So that's always my number 1 tip is go with what you're comfortable with. You'll be more inclined to try new poses or different things, if you feel confident with what you're wearing. The second thing I would recommend is looking for poses or ideas before you start actually working in front of the camera. And I do this always. To this day, I will go on Pinterest or look at different influencer feeds and say, hey, today, this brand sent me this winter jacket. I saw so-and-so, do some fun poses. Let me look them up and see if I can put my own spin on it. And so for me, having even those just photos saved on your phone and showing your photographer or your husband or your friend, whoever's taking the photos, hey, this is what I'm going for. Let me know if you can help pose me or move the camera in that way because this is kind of what I'm looking for. Generally helps you get, the final product that you want. So those are kind of my 2 big tips is the more prepared you can be with kind of your idea for what you want the photos to look like, and then wearing what you're comfortable with, you'll be set up for success.
So being a model and you just saying that, you have to be confident in what you wear, I'm sure you get maybe sometimes dressed into things that you're not so confident in. I mean, I can't imagine. It just seems like you could put anything on you. You could stand in front of a camera and it would be like, just not a big deal. But do you ever feel like you have to really build yourself up to do that if you're not comfortable in something you have on?
Yes. Yes, there have been pieces that I'm like, this is definitely, not Danielle's style by any means. But, for me, I think it's all about, that opportunity that you've been placed in and doing your very best for those people, right? So if it's for, a boutique or, a company that was like, we're very passionate about this brand or new launch that we have. For me, it always goes back to, I want to put my best foot forward and display what they've put their pride and joy into the best I can. And so while I may not love whatever, leopard rhinestone fancy dress they put me in, right? I think, it's important to know that they have passion behind that, and you kind of use that as your motivation to put your extra level of confidence on and pose
and just do it.
Make sure and do it and make sure that you're just as proud of the effort you put forward as they did in their clothes or whatever product they have.
Do you have any tips on makeup or what to do if you're doing your own makeup for a shoot?
I would say I have a list of ladies I can give you for better makeup tips than myself. I can give you my advice for sure. For me, for photos, my best makeup advice is always wearing a colored lip and putting on more blush than you think is necessary. And that sounds silly, but I found just for myself over the years that I really love the way the photos turned out, where you can see my cheeks and you can see, right, the definition of your smile. Or if you're doing a serious look, right, how the lips and everything else pops out. Those to me are my two biggest things. Like if I've lost my makeup kit, I go for blush, lipstick, and some mascara to put on there as my three go-to pieces. Other advice, I just go back to the confidence thing. Whether you like to wear a lot or a little, I think you rock with whatever you're confident in. I think we all have days where, we want to be super glam, and other days we want to be super relaxed. And I like to show all sides of that because I think we're all beautiful regardless of how much or how little we have on.
Yeah. So kind of changing gears, going back to fashion, where do you see Western fashion heading?
So I see it even more in mainstream fashion. Right. I think with the surge of the cowboy boot and even Western hats, cowboy hats coming in more and more often, right? We even see, country music singers and some mainstream singers, right, kind of pulling in those Western boho vibes. I think we're just going to get more and more of that, which to me is really exciting because we're just expanding our Western community there. I think we're also going to continue seeing kind of the hybrid of Western business. That's more of a passion for me. I really want to continue to watch that grow because that's an area that I love to see how people style that. And so I'm excited, but I think it's going to keep growing. I think between boots and hats and kind of the retro styles that we're seeing more in mainstream fashion, I think all of that's going to kind of tie hand in hand to bringing more of those communities together.
So for people that aren't really involved in the Western world or Western fashion, what are good brands that are just good starting brands that are solid that if for us example, we don't have cowboy boots. So if we were going to go out, where would you tell us to go get a pair of cowboy boots that it's not going to be a huge investment, but it's kind of
starting point?
Yeah.
So I would say for cowboy boots, it's all on personal preference. But I would say even going to some of the bigger, outlet stores like the Boot Barn or the Cavenders, and just going through, even just visiting their website and seeing what kind of piques your interest. Those are all great places to start with your first pair of boots. And I would say that's probably, if you're wanting to add more Western flair to your wardrobe, I think boots are a great place to start, because you can add them and be, not basic, but wear some fun regular staple pieces, but then add some boots and you've kind of got a fun Western touch there. Regarding other brands that I love to shop at, the Good Babes Co. She has a lot of really great hybrid pieces. Okay. Lots of mainstream staples, but then she throws in, a lot of fun belts that can make an outfit Western by just, adding one or two accessories on. She's got some great fringe jackets. She's a good friend of mine. She's always up and coming with the different styles and preparing for the different kind of Western events that are coming through. So she is one that I recommend. And then jewelry is another big part of Western fashion. And so Turquoise and Teepees, they're a wonderful brand here in Texas as well. And she has some incredible pieces that are not necessarily specific to like the huge, like conchos and squash blossoms. I mean, she has those, but she has also a lot of really fun, dainty, small turquoise pieces that you could, wear more frequently to kind of get that Western flair to whatever look that you have. So those are my two for kind of, if you want to bring in one or two pieces into your wardrobe to start making it a little more Western.
Yeah. Good tips.
Very good tips.
So a little bit going back, let's talk about the NFR and the fashion for that, the prep. What does that look like for you?
Oh my goodness. So it is a journey, to say the least, to prepare for that. I think, to be honest, there are some of us already preparing for it. If you're going for the full 10 days of the National Finals Rodeo, you're probably going to be wearing a minimum of 2 outfits every day. Yeah. So that's 20 outfits, which for me, saying that out loud, you're like, how do I even get that amount of clothes in my suitcase with boots, with hats, with accessories down there? And so for me, it's all about planning and finding staple pieces that you could add accessories to, like a belt, or tie it up in a different way so that you could get more use out of it for like a daytime to a nighttime look. So that's generally how I plan my looks, is you have your daytime and then your nighttime is generally a little bit more glammed up. Okay. But generally, when I've been planning for it, I haven't had to go for the full 10 days. It might be happening this year. We'll see. Oh, wow. So I'll keep you updated with my planning schedule. But I like to use, kind of how I've stated before, good pairs of jeans that, you can wear multiple different ways, a few good pairs of boots, few hats, and then lots of accessories. So you can kind of change the look from day to night if you need to. And then reaching out to brands and saying, hey, I'm going to be here at the NFR for these days. I would love, do you have anything you'd like to send me that I could wear, take some photos in? That's another great avenue that I've used before as well. So you don't necessarily have to break the bank, and you can kind of work with some of your favorite brands to get you styled and dressed up.
Do you feel that brands are willing to do that, or do you get more no's than yeses? What does that look like, especially with you growing in your career?
Yeah. So for me, I go to the brands that, I've been a loyal follower of. They know I've shopped on their site, or that, I've promoted them before. I think that's, really important with the influencer brand relationship, is that the brand also knows you're invested in their success. You love their pieces. You've been following them along. their journey and want them to succeed, just as much as you want yourself to. And so for me, I have about 4 or 5 that I would go to, in preparation for a big event where I've been a longtime fan, supporter of them. I may have modeled for them, many times before. And so when I did start out though, and I didn't, I hadn't built up as many connections as I have today, I did reach out and I did get quite a few no's of like, hey, you're not quite big enough, or, maybe you haven't been following us for that long. But it's all about, perseverance, or just asking them the question of, okay, that's totally fine. Can I connect with you in a few more months and, re-talk about maybe me doing a modeling job for you or anything like that. And so it's all about asking. The worst thing that's going to happen is they say no, and that's okay. Yeah. You can move on, or, you can continue to support them and kind of grow with them. And before you know it, right, they'll be knocking on your door to say, hey, we remember you from a year ago. We'd love to have you on board. And so for me, it's all about connections, right? And just asking even other influencers or people on social media, their experience of, how they got started, how they reach out to certain folks. But I think showing your interest and loyalty in those brands, or what value you can provide for them, that's really important in that relationship. Well, are you guys going to be going to the NFR? Is that something that interests you guys?
We are not going to the NFR. We haven't traveled in quite some time. So we used to take our business to quite a few of the trade shows around here and even different parts of the country. And we just at one point just decided it was easier. Our product is kind of hard to take with us, and people really like to see the product. So we haven't been to those things. But as we're growing, as we've grown our marketing department, we're kind of looking into some of those things. So that may be something that we in the future will be doing and going to. Yeah. Be neat to meet you there.
Oh, goodness, please. I will come. I would love to be your personal shopper. That's one of my favorite things. We can get you all styled up.
Yeah, it would be so much fun.
Yes. Yes.
That would be wonderful.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll enter our next segment, Canter Banter.
Do you love horses and live the equestrian lifestyle? Be sure to check out our brand new blog at www.YourHorseFarm.com. We publish 3 posts per week and feature a free printable equine checklist every month. YourHorseFarm.com is a great equine online resource, so be sure to share with all the horse lovers in your life. And remember, laugh much and ride often. Our next segment, Canter Banter, is brought to you by Ram Horse Fencing and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. Ram is family-owned and operated and has been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
So I am a rodeo wife, and so my husband and I spend a lot of miles, on the road with our horses, going to different ropings and rodeos and events. So we have many adventures that we have experienced on our journeys, but the one I want to tell you guys about today is how one of my husband's calf roping videos went viral. So he's actually way more famous than I ever imagined. And I kind of want to explain the story behind how we got to the viral video. So in getting ready for most rodeos or ropings, kind of a fun fact is that lots of rodeo wives will pick out or choose their husband's shirt before they compete. And then they pin their number on it. And it's like this traditional thing that, most rodeo wives do. And so my husband and I follow that same kind of rule. And majority of the time I'll pick out his shirt the night before, he'll starch it and all of that. And then we're ready to hit the road in the morning. Well, on this particular day, he, for whatever reason, did not like my shirt selection for him. I had picked out 2. He was not feeling them. I don't know why. And so he had decided, he's like, okay, in the morning, he will pick one and then we will get on our way. Well, the morning comes and I don't know why, but it took him forever to decide which shirt to wear. So we were running behind. So I had, helped get the horse packed, everything else, get our lunch kit ready, all the goodies, normal wife duties. And he's still inside trying to pick out a shirt. So finally he comes out and he has his shirt and we're running behind. So the entire time we're like driving or whatever, we were talking that when we get to the rodeo, it's probably going to be quite a rushed event because we are significantly behind because he took his sweet time finding his shirt for the morning. So we finally show up to this roping. He goes blasting out of the truck and to go pay his fees and see where he falls in the list of ropers as to, when he'll be roping. And of course, as luck has it, he's one of the first guys that has to go. So he had called me and he's like, please, like, brush my horse, put the saddle on. We're going to have to go like right away. Mm-hmm. So my normal duties when we go to a roping, I have my groomer fees and all my activities that I do brush the horse and get him ready. But normally my husband will saddle him. Anyway, today I had to do it all, that day I had to do it all, which was fine. I get him ready to go. I hand the reins to my husband. He is like running with his horse to the warm-up arena so he can do like a few hot laps, like little quick trot circles so that his horse like kind of loosens up before we go. And I'm sure you guys know, right? You also always check your cinch before, right? If someone else saddles your horse, or even if you do it on your own, you always check it. So he had checked it, but I don't think to the degree that he probably needed to, given the rush of everything. So I hope you guys understand. It's a very like chaotic situation that's going on. My other duty is I video, right? As a good rodeo wife, you video all your husband's runs when they compete. So now I am rushing to go find a spot in the stands with my iPad to make sure I get a good spot so I can film him when he goes. So all of this is happening. I make it to my seat just in the nick of time. And he is a calf roper. So he's backing into the box with his horse. And so I'm there with the iPad, sweating, ready to go. I'm like, okay, we made it. So he goes, he nods his head and the chute's open. And for calf roping, right, you chase your calf and the goal is to rope them as quick as you can, jump off your horse, tie them, wait for 6 seconds, and then you get your time. So they crack the chutes and he is running down the pen with his horse. He ropes the calf. And then generally when you rope the calf, the horse is stopping and you as the rider are kind of jumping off and you're running towards the calf. Well, his horse, whether it was because the saddle was too loose or whatever reason we want to say, stopped a lot more aggressively and on a funky angle and threw my husband off to where he literally did a gymnastics flip and landed on the rope that was attached to the calf, flipped off of the rope, landed on his feet. Like, you guys, he did like a full flip.
Yeah, goodness.
He lands on his feet miraculously, runs to the calf, finishes his run, and like gets a great time. And everyone is like screaming because they couldn't believe he didn't just like eat it off the ground right away. Cause like that's what looks like what was going to happen. So he throws his hand in the air and he like did a bow and like all the fun things. Anyway, the place was like electric. But precursor for all of you guys, my husband had back surgery like 6 months earlier.
Oh no.
And so this was one of the first ropings he was going back at 100%.
Wow.
So while I'm videoing, right, I see him flipping and I'm like, oh my goodness, he's going to fall like on his back. But at the same time, I'm like, I can't stop videoing because I will get in more trouble if this video is not like in full length capturing everything rather than me like running down and going to help him if, that was needed. Anyway, so all of that to say, he ended up winning money with this crazy run that they put together. And the announcer knows us quite well and the gentleman that was putting on the roping. So he's like, please send me the video, blah, blah, blah. So the video ended up getting picked up by the Cowboy Channel and some like Rodeo Rex TV thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, it got like 750,000 views. I don't know how, but anyway, so he went viral. So that's his big story, is that, you know, we had this crazy gymnastics routine during his roping run, but that's just a small taste of some of the fun adventures.
But is that his lucky shirt now?
I think he's actually ripped that shirt. So
no.
A lot of them. So, but I think he kept it as like a fun memory.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere in the closet, that's for sure. But
oh, that's fun.
That's very fun.
So we have lots of stories like that. You know, that's kind of the fun one, being able to say, you know, that one went viral. But even when I first started going with my husband to lots of his ropings, you know, I grew up in the AQHA horse show world, right? Where things are really quiet. They're calm. Everyone is very proper. You know, things are very orderly. And then you go to like the roping side of the world and it's much different. Like the need for personal space or your horse's personal space is like non-existent.
Oh, wow.
And you see more wrecks or things that happen on a regular basis. So for me, it was pretty funny, just like getting used to that different atmosphere, right? Coming from, you know, the quote unquote proper show world. I would say that I don't necessarily condone all the lack of personal space that still exists, but I'm much more used to it at this point. So.
I don't know how we would do. We Ohioans like our personal space.
Yeah. That's funny. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. It was great chatting with you.
You too.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast and encourage you to share with all your equestrian family and friends. You can tune into the Late Night Riders podcast show every Friday night. Each episode will be uploaded exclusively on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of our latest shows. Do you have a topic you'd like us to discuss? We want to hear from you. You may email us at podcast@ramfence.com or feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you again for listening.